Hello everybody. I've had this John Deere 26G here on rent for a week now, as a lot of you may know, and I've been using it for some projects, and I figured before I have to take it back tomorrow morning, I'm going to make a review on it and just talk about some of the things I noticed with it after using it for a week. So let's get started. So this is a John Deere 26G. I've been renting this from General Rentals. I've had it for a week now. I picked this up Monday morning. It's Sunday afternoon right now, and I'm dropping it off this upcoming Monday, which is really nice, getting to have it on the weekend because I got to use this thing for 6 days. I put just over 30 hours on this machine this week, so this is not a definitive review of somebody who's owned this machine for years or whatever. I'm sure you can find those on YouTube, people who've run these for hundreds of hours. I just want to give a brief overview of the things that I noticed using it for a week, having it on rent. So the first thing we have to talk about is, those of you who have followed along with this series know, this is not the John Deere 26G that I picked up Monday morning. I actually had to take this back and swap it because this hose right here that goes from that little box right there to the thumb sprung a leak at the connector, and it was actually a different style. It connected over here instead of up here, I believe, and it sprung a leak when I was clearing with it Thursday morning, so the second day of my clearing project. Well, it actually started leaking Wednesday afternoon, but the fitting was loose and I tightened it and it stopped. But I ran it for a couple more hours and it started leaking again, and I couldn't fix it by tightening it. And they couldn't get a mechanic out to me, so I actually took the machine back and swapped it for this identical one here. So that's just something to note. The hydraulic hose on this one's a couple years newer. This hydraulic hose is a much better design. It's straight up and down, it fits in at the top, and it doesn't really stick out or flop around or get caught on anything. So that's one thing to look for if you are thinking about buying one of these, is look at that hydraulic hose, because if it's a newer model, it'll have a much better style connection. If it's an older model and you're going to be doing clearing and demo work with it, watch out for that hose, because that hose will snag very easily and spring leaks very easily. Is just something I've noticed. So now we'll talk about the machine generally. We'll start with some of the positives and then we'll move on to the negatives. My view of John Deere excavators generally is that they are what I can only describe as aggressively mediocre. There's nothing particularly awful about them, but there's also nothing particularly great about them. This machine was very smooth, which was nice. I didn't think it was the first day or two I was running it, but that was just growing pains. Once I got used to it, this is a very smooth machine. It would be a very easy one for a very inexperienced operator to pick up. And everything on it moves pretty fast for the most part, except the turntable. I found the turntable, which is what rotates the cab separate from the tracks, to be very sluggish. Everything, you know, the boom, the stick, the bucket, and the thumb, and the blade and all that moved at decent speeds, but I did find the turntable to be very sluggish. This machine does not spin around very fast. But everything else on it was pretty quick and pretty smooth, which was nice. I did also, and I need to put a caveat with this comment here, I did find it to be a little underpowered, and I find John Deere excavators generally to be underpowered compared to competing models, but this is the only excavator in the 2.5 ton range I've ever run, is the two John Deere 26Gs that I've run. I've run a few 3.5 ton machines and a 1.5 ton machine, which is kind of what I'm basing this off of. But it does seem a little underpowered, and like I said, I've run, this is the smallest John Deere excavator I've ever run, but I've run them from this all the way up to the 35 ton excavator, the 350P, and my general experience with John Deere excavators is that they're just a little underpowered compared to competing models. I'd like to try another 2.5 ton excavator just to see if that holds up, because I was asking this machine to do a little more than what it really wanted to do. You know, this is only a 5,800 pound machine, and I got such a small one because I only have an F-150. But I was doing, everything I did could pretty much be classified as either demolition or clearing work, which is very hard on a machine and takes a lot of pushing and pulling power. So I acknowledge that I was probably asking it to do a little more than what it was made to do. So I would like to try another 2.5 ton machine just to see if I'm right about that. But based off just running this one, I do think it is a little underpowered. The place that I rented this from also has Kubota. They have U27s, which is pretty much the same size as this machine. And the only reason I didn't get one of those is because for whatever reason, all of their Kubota 2.5 ton machines don't have thumbs, and all of their Deere machines do. And I was doing clearing and demo work all week, so I had to have a thumb, which is why I went with the John Deere. But I would like to try one of those U27s either when I just need it to dig a trench or something, or if they do start running some with thumbs, just to see how it compares to this 26G. But I do think it's a little bit underpowered. But there is one thing on this machine that is not underpowered, and that is the tracking power. This machine has some of the best tracking power that I've ever seen on a smaller excavator. I could push a whole lot with this tiny blade and these little tracks. I was very impressed with the track power on it. The boom power left a lot to be desired, but I've run a lot of machines where the track power was kind of their Achilles heel, and that is not the case at all with this 26G. It has very good track power. You can push a lot of material with that blade compared to what you can with other, even bigger mini excavators. So we'll take a look at the operator station now. And another thing I found that I liked about this machine is while it is kind of cramped, I don't have a whole lot of room in here. I could track this machine with my feet, and I'm in my church clothes today because it's Sunday. But you can track this machine fairly easily with your feet, which is impressive for a small machine like this. I have run a lot of machines bigger than this one that it was harder to track with my feet. I ran an 8-ton Sani excavator that was harder to track with my feet than this 2.5-ton Deere is. So that's definitely a big positive. And it is a fairly ergonomic machine overall. I wish these armrests were a little higher up because it doesn't feel as natural to run the joystick at the top. It feels more natural to hold it down here. I like it better when the armrest sits up there so I can run it like this. But overall, it is a fairly ergonomic machine. But I did find that when I was tracking it with my feet a lot especially, I got very sore very quick. I have never run a machine that I got so sore on from being on it all day. And part of that is that this is a smaller machine, but I really don't feel that crammed. And a lot of the soreness was in my back and shoulders because this just isn't a very good seat. They may put a better one on the P-tier machines, I don't know. But I did find this machine to be extremely uncomfortable to run all day. And for that reason alone, I would not buy one of these. But it is, like I said, fairly ergonomic for where your arms go. And it does have a fairly nice feature down here where you can just stick the key in there and you've got your switch for excavator and backhoe controls. So that's very convenient to get to. But if you look up how to do that, it will tell you that it is under the seat. So the first time I tried to switch the controls, because I got this machine on backhoe controls, I look it up, it says it's conveniently placed under the seat. So I go trying to lift the seat up, and the seat doesn't lift. And I got to opening this panel and got halfway through when I finally looked in that sight glass. So it's not actually under the seat, it's under the left joystick. That's not a bad spot, it's just that John Deere's website has it listed kind of wrong. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say about this machine. I may rent it again in the future and have some more things to say about it. My general overview of it, like I said, is this is just an aggressively mediocre machine. It has a few positives and a few negatives. None of them are a huge deal. Would I buy this machine? No. I don't think it's a bad machine, but I also don't think it's a good machine. I don't see a reason to choose this or Deere excavators in general over competing brands like Cat, Takeuchi, and Kubota. It may be that there's something I'm missing. I would love to hear from people who have run these a little bit more than me, but I just don't think it's a great machine. I don't think it's a bad machine, but I don't think it's a good machine. I would like to use some other machines in this size class, but I think I would have the same feeling that I have on the other Deeres I've used, because I've used Deeres that compare to other machines I've also used, and I really feel the same way about all these Deere excavators, which is They're aggressively mediocre. They're not bad machines. Maybe if you find a really good deal on a used one, go for it. But certainly if you're buying new, I see no reason really to go with Deere over the competition. The only thing that really stands out about this machine as a positive compared to other machines I've run is the tracking power. So that's all I've got for today. That's all I've got to say about it. Thank you guys for taking time to watch this video. If you've had a different experience, better or worse than me with one of these machines, let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next one.